Hello and welcome to Oye Cinema Club. It's me, Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the amazing Nicholas Sparks movie film inspired from The Notebook. Uh, and I'm not here by myself, of course not. I'm here with some lovely, lovely hosts. The one and only Marina Watch Laugh Cry and Jason Eccles.
Hey now.
You're a rock star. If you're a bird, the reason I picked this movie is because this actually was one of my favorite films when I was quite young. I would say early teenager or throughout my teenage years. Uh, then later, when I decided I was going to pursue acting, I knew that I needed to develop my different ranges. And this movie actually helped me to cry. Like, there hasn't been a single time that I've seen this movie and I haven't had a tear in my eyes.
Mm.
So I decided to, hey, let me revisit this movie because I haven't seen it in such a long time, like plus, I don't know, 8, 9, maybe 10 plus years that I've seen this movie. And I said, oh, what a way to see it that here in Cinema Club. But before I go into my first impressions of watching it for from such a long time, let's go into your guys' first impressions. And let's start with the lady, Jason.
Hi, Nick.
Oh, thanks. Um, so this is my maybe third, fourth time seeing this movie, perhaps. This one is pretty near and dear to me, actually. The first time I saw this movie, it was in the movie theaters, and I was on a date, and I remember my date started crying at this thing early, like early in the film, like at the sweet part, she was already like in tears. Like, what are you crying about? You know what I mean? And before the end of this thing, I had already cried like 2 or 3 times. It was like, like right next to her. And it was so funny to me at that time because it was just a pivotal time in my life where it's like I really felt comfortable crying on a like an early date with a girl. And it was just kind of a nice moment I remember. And it's just a lovely film. But that's my first memory of it, at least. Everything's great about this movie: the storytelling, the script, the screenplay, the acting, the directing, like just the tone and feel of it, the music. It's all so done. It's done so well. This is for me probably a top 10 romantic drama. Top, and you know what I mean. There might be an argument that it gets into my at least my top five, maybe even top three. I don't know, but I wouldn't count it out. It's just far as what I've seen and what I've like related to. This is just such a good movie. I mean, the two leads are so utterly likable. At no point of this thing does either one of them like ever have like any question of their integrity. Like they always are just such high moral characters, and there's so like they never say anything completely out of line. Um, you know, and they both deal with black people in the South, like sweetly. And I was like, that's interesting. I think I noticed that subconsciously, like the first time I seen it, but I really peeped it this time. It's like they are very sweet to even the black people in the South in the 40s. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, they're not racist in a time that's very, known for racism. Like that's cool. And also this time I thought to myself, like, let me count how many black people are in this movie. And then like there's maybe a couple black people in this movie, but I like how it doesn't make race the center of the film, even though like I know subconsciously as a black person, it's hard for me to watch a movie like this and not think about, oh man, they in the 40s in the South? Ugh. They treat black people real bad right now. You know what I mean? So it's like I mean that's just like something that, just built into America. You know what I mean? But they have black people like sitting in the clubs and stuff, perform when the like Cab Calloway type guys performing or whatever. Like there's black people not only sitting in the club in the dinner scenes, which I thought was odd, and performing on the stage and waiting the tables or whatever. I was like, was it really like that? Is there any club in New York that was doing, those type of shows, and they were allowing black people in the 40s, in the 50s, maybe. I don't know. That's the only thing I questioned. But this movie's an A+.
Thank you for that, Jason. Now let's go with Marina.
Yay. I too have seen this movie a few times. I was a late bloomer to it. I think I was only like 13 years old when this movie came out. And my mom was really strict about me watching stuff that was like sex scenes or anything like that. So I didn't actually watch this movie until I moved out and was on my own, and just something that came on TV, and it very, very quickly became it was my favorite love movie for a very long time. Now it's definitely top 5. Um this was I've watched it probably about the same, about like maybe like 4 or 5 times. But I realized when I was watching it this time, like this is my first time watching it, like since I've like gotten married and had a child. And so it was very, very interesting perspectives of time, like just thinking about like how quickly time goes by and like what happens in your life. Just thinking about like the person I was probably in love with the first time I ever watched this. And you're thinking to yourself, we're just like them. We're gonna be together forever. And then yeah, with a completely different person, building a family at this point. But so just it was very like different, just kind of watching it in the adult eyes. Like I feel like the first times I watched it was through the what if, what's going to happen in the future. And mind you, I'm not like 60 years old or anything, but like I am definitely a lot older and a lot more different situations is when I used to cling to these love movies because I was single or because I was, in something fresh or something. So it was very interesting watching in this lens. I even like feel like I related a lot more to the mom this time, and just like what you do to protect your children and how that really changes. Like I really paid more attention to like her dynamic with her parents and his dynamic with his parent. And I don't know if I ever noticed people of color in this movie. But for some reason, again, maybe it is the maturity. Like I look at the bigger picture now, you're not just obsessed with this love story. I was like, wow, like, his family's not racist. Like, yeah, he's dancing with, those are his buddies. And like at the funeral, like everybody that came to Dad's funeral was black. I have never noticed that before. I think I was
Yep.
just so sucked in by how Noah is feeling and is he gonna get his love story and stuff, that I never noticed that. But this time I was like, wait a minute, like like okay, that's pretty cool. And even the dancing and stuff, I never noticed. I don't know why and how I missed that, but I definitely noticed it this time around. But still, even of watching it quite a few times, like it still hits. I still cried. I cried more because you know what's gonna happen. Like I was crying in the opening credits.
Mm.
I was just like with the boat, like in the looking out the window. I was like, but yeah, it's a tearjerker no matter what, which is what Nicholas Sparks is great at. It doesn't matter. I don't think it'll ever matter. It'll always be, you always cry. But yeah, first, that was my impression this time around, looking around and seeing it in this new lens of maturity.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you for that, Marina. Let's go with you, Steve. Oh, thank you so much. Um, my first impressions from watching this film from such a long time, I'm gonna say like, gee dang, this movie still hits the feels, man. It still hits it, and it hits it even more as you're older. Because I like you understand things way more, and you can put yourself way more in like whether it's Noah or Allie's shoes or whoever in this movie. And also like you guys, the first times that I watched it back in the day, I again was wrapped more in the whole love story, that I wasn't really paying attention of all the incredible diversity that was hired, in this pro SAG AFTRA time in history. And man, we had a strong central casting back in that day, let me tell you. Uh, but Yeah, like the movie holds up, man. Like it has so many iconic scenes, lines. The acting is flawless by like everybody, and yeah, it's definitely in the top. Definitely for romantic movies, like to me, is top three, not even top 10. Because man, the the script is so good. Like that to me, like it's definitely the basis to something really good. You need to have a really good script, but then you accompany that with the cinematography, the clothing, the acting, all of that stuff, and yeah, you get like such a masterpiece. And I really feel that, at least for me, this movie holds up. And that's kind of like the next question I want to throw to you guys is do you think this movie, 'cause this was filmed a long time ago, Ryan Gosling was not Ken, you know what I'm saying? And do you still
But
think
he was
this
kin enough.
Ken enough? Yeah, Ken enough.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you guys still think this movie holds up, and do you think this movie can hold up another, I don't know, 20 more years, 30 more years?
I think so. Because like I think a smart move was making it older too, and part of a period time where women had to make choices about their life a lot more seriously. So like that'll always be a part of history. Some love movies do age out, but that's just such a strong sense of like of our history in America. You know what I mean? So I think like that alone, and then just like that kind of love, even in their current days where they're older. I think it's a good story, and I do think it can stand the test of time because it's dealing with real life things like real life mental diseases that happen to us as we age, and um, real life decisions you have to make. When you're thinking about your future, like I think those subjects, even though the risks and the stakes may change through time, it still, in my opinion, will hit home unless we go to Mars. But as long as we're earthbound, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like this movie is going to stand the test of time. I think for a couple of reasons. I think on the technical level, it's already takes place back in a time that none of us are really familiar with, right? Um, especially for the generation it was made for. I think that's what kind of makes this movie very strong because this was made for like 20 somethings, I feel like, when it came out, because that's where Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams are like as stars, you know. Um, but I guess they're playing like, early 20s in this thing, or like, no, she's 17. So they're playing teenagers, right? But they're already kind of like, stars coming up in Hollywood, and they put them in a period piece from the 40s or whatever. So they know who they're selling this movie to, but they're also very comfortable with selling it as a period piece. And I think it's a, like it's just as a strategic move. If you could make that work, this thing is going to live forever now. Everybody, because you already have like this sense of nostalgic, no matter what age you are watching this movie, because it happened 70 years ago. So yeah, this thing I think is going to be around for a very long time, and just that the story is so universal, it's so pure. It's really like the ideal, like kind of like magic of love story. This movie's about like the magic of like finding that someone that you like sort of kind of instantly are pulled to, and it's like that's odd and cool, and that's what love is. That's the magic of it, and this movie just really illustrates it well. It really tells that story with that on the forefront. They mention it so many times in the movie. They do like little things where it's like it's almost like a little magical. Like, there's a lot of that in this movie, and I guess that's what any great love story should have. But yeah, Nicholas Sparks probably killed the book. Never read it, but yeah, I think this thing lives forever because it was already a Nicholas Sparks book that's very popular, right? Yeah, this thing goes on forever.
So one of the things this movie is very famous for, it is very memorable quotes. And I want to ask you guys, is there a favorite quote or
Mm.
quotes that you have from this movie?
Yeah. It's not that easy. What do you want? Just
That's
say what
exactly,
you want. I can't. It's not that easy. That.
that's exactly how they acted it.
Yep.
Well, no,
I feel like that quote definitely gets a lot of funny stuff. Like people be like when you try to ask a woman what she wants for dinner.
Oh.
What do you want? I don't know. Stop thinking about what everybody else wants. What I want. What your parents wants. What do you want?
I don't know. It's not that easy. Yeah,
Man,
no, it's terrific. It's yeah, it makes for a terrific joke. Yeah, that's my line, I think.
I think that whole argument slash reconciling is probably my favorite too. Especially like I've always like my thing about love, which is why this movie like stood out to me because a lot of movies make it look easy. Like even though they had like magnetic attraction, there were so many different obstacles they had to overcome, even to a point where they didn't really get along that well. Like they were very opposite. Like they loved each other, but they didn't necessarily agree on everything. And I always thought that was very interesting because that's my what?
no. So literally, I have one quote that I was gonna mention that literally says that. The narrator says they didn't agree on much. In fact, they rarely agreed on anything. They fought all the time and challenged each other every day. But despite their differences, they had one important thing in common. They were crazy about each other.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so yeah, so that pretty much sums up that whole rant. I was gonna go on, but but yeah, so okay, so that but basically that's my thing. Like the song I walked down to the aisle to is I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz. Like basically saying that like no matter what happens in life, like I won't give up on our love. And then stuff like that has always stood out to me. So I love that. So with that being said, when they're having that argument where he's telling her to basically choose him over her fiance, I do like when he was just saying like it's going to be hard, but I want to work through it every day because I want to work with you. Basically, like I want to make this work with you. And I was just like, yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, that whole moment where what do you want and saying like, yeah, like that's the bottom line, man. I'm not rich, and we don't even like we argue all the time, but I'd rather do that with you over anybody in the world. So yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that I have that like hit me a little bit more than if you're a bird, I'm a bird. One that everybody says is this one from Noah. It says, "I am nothing special. Of this I am sure. I am a common man with common thoughts, and I've led a common life. There are no monuments dedicated to me, and my name will soon be forgotten. But I've loved another with all my heart and soul, and to me, this has always been enough."
Mm.
And I thought that was the sweetest thing, and it literally transported me back to like one of the reasons I love this movie because I always, as a kid, been a hopeless romantic, and at heart, like when I can be by myself like this, I will watch movies like this and just cry without people like I don't want people to see me cry and make fun of me. Uh,
I
and
love this for you.
with that being said, let's go into what were our favorite scenes because there's so many ones to choose from in this film. Some that were very beautifully done, some that were very artistic choices, and some that were extremely memorable. I think overall the movie's just jam packed with incredible moments. Well, which ones stood out to you guys the most?
Man, there are so many good scenes in this movie and so many good acting scenes between people in this movie. I mean, I really like the scene with her and her mom go to see the guy at the working in the meal or whatever. Like it's just I mean that there's something really kind of like poetic and sweet about that, and like she really opens up to her daughter for the first time, and Joan Allen is absolutely brilliant. They both are, and she just tells this heartbreaking story, like about this regret or like this what if or what could have been, but it's also like this is still like shows that her mom is still kind of a hopeless romantic in a way. and she's having this moment of honesty with her daughter, and she can't even believe it's happening. Like she's about to break down, and she's trying to pull it back right away. And there's just so many layers to it that, like, you take it for granted watching it as an audience, but like it's just so masterfully done. With like, there's so much that happens in that scene with their relationship in like one conversation, and it's like wow, like they just unfold everything about these people. I guess another parent scene, but I think maybe the scene I like the most is with like Sam Shepard, R.I.P. When he first meets Allie, and he introduces him, and he's very playful to her, and he's being a dad, and he's being very welcoming, and he's welcoming into her home, and he's so happy, probably to have a little company, but he's also happy to like, that his son has found someone nice, and he's trying to play like wingman to his son by like ribbing him a little bit, and you know, getting to know this girl, and it's just, and he invites her over for dinner right away. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on in for dinner, and it's just very sweet. It's very sweet that she got to like meet his dad and be with him, before he passes away or whatever. And so like she can also know that part of like his past. And I really liked how they built their relationship, because it's like, wow, these guys are living in the middle of nowhere. They have nothing but black friends, and he's reading poetry to his son on the porch at night. And he's been doing it to him since a little boy because it's helped him with his stutter. And it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, and he's teaching his son, and he's helping his son, and it's like, it's all very beautiful. It's all very beautiful stuff. So yeah, that scene probably, but maybe a close second is the mom-daughter scene.
Yeah. So thanks for stealing it from everybody. I feel like Steve liked that too. But mine was more of like, I like the entire relationship arc between mom and daughter in general. Cause like when they're basically telling her that she can't be with him. I always remember like it was stood out the first time I ever watched it, where she was just like, you don't know what love is. Like, you don't look at daddy the way I look at Noah. Like she just goes off, off, off. So I always thought like it was such a great acting of Rachel McAdams in the scene later when her mom is doing all this, like her eyes, like the way that you can see like her entire childhood was like running through her head of like how she completely misunderstood her mother. And it was just like, well, you just like, I'm like, wow, what an actress. Like I am feeling this. Like, I don't know if that's like what the director wanted or it's just something she did, but the way that she was hugging her mom and she was just like looking like, whoa, like her mind was absolutely blown, and it probably just made her realize, wow, yeah, life isn't that simple, and it may seem like people older than us have it all figured out, or it may seem like they gave up, or but there's so many layers to what the people before us and the decisions they have made. But yeah, so I definitely like how that, like all that intertwine, like just this woman that seems so not understood very well. She was just making a choice, which isn't fair. We got to let our kids grow into who they're going to be. But I do kind of like that we got that, because most movies, it's like parents don't like the boy. We never hear a backstory. So I think that was really well done, giving us a backstory and a why.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this thing does not fall into cliche, which it probably easily could have.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, thanks, Jason, for stealing the one I was gonna say, which was, definitely that moment with the mom daughter. It stands out for so many reasons. When I was younger, that scene kind of like was a for me, but like now it's like, oh my god, like that scene is such an amazing scene, and like so underrated by people that don't maybe understand. you know and yeah, and I also thought like they should have been a little bigger deal about the whole letter things. That's one thing that I was always like, I needed a little bit more of that, because she just got these piles of letters, and we need to see, we want the reveal. But every moment that from the beginning of the sparks or the attraction from Noah, uh, towards her, like I thought was, it just set a great pace for it, of like how love can start even crazy, especially when you're young. Like for example, one of the scenes that I I think about is when he was like in the Ferris wheel, like literally hanging. Like that moment is such a crazy moment, but he's like, I got nothing to lose, and this is the only moment that I will even have the possibility to try to date someone like this. There's a moment that there's no Tinder, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta shoot your shot quick. You might not see this person. So
Real talk.
so yeah, so like and then the moments that they're together, of course, like that. Now they're a couple and they're like all of a sudden rowing, like he's rowing and there's all these swans around. And then when they're rowing back and the rain falls and everything, like all of that was just shot so beautiful. So every moment that they had was like very shot in a very intense, unique, magical way that it just like it adds all the tones to the story in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's tons of scenes like that. I mean, that the rain scene is very memorable. That's I mean, it's just a beautiful concept.
I mean, the rain scene, I believe, was the cover.
The cover.
Mhm. I think
Yeah,
so too.
them kissing in the rain, I believe, is the cover of the film.
Hmm.
Mm.
It is like the kiss.
And so let's talk about favorite characters.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. Like the two leads are just so incredibly likable, but also like James Gardner telling the story to his wife every day. He's so terrific in this. I mean, I think he might have been nominated for an Oscar for this, maybe. But he's so good in this. It's just this man who just profoundly loves this woman, and he's like been through this so many times that he has the script right on how to like behave just so that he can spend the day with her, and not like set her off and trigger her. And then it's just heartbreaking at the end, she's like triggered, like she's like in and out of her own head. I thought about it this time. She's in and out of her head in such a way where she actually like I think thinks she's back in her like 20-year-old body, and she sees this old man in front of her like, who are you? You know what I mean? Because she's kind of like going in and out, and she finally remembers for the first time of what it was like when they were like in their late 20s or whatever it was. And and then she's like, she sees this man like, no, you're not Noah. Like she knows who Noah is, and that ain't it. And it's like, so she's like thinking she's still there, and she's forgot. And it's like, wow, how sad is that? Um, and she's very good too. What's her face? God, rest the dead. Both of them. Uh, Gena Rowlands. Yeah, man. Like, there's a lot of favorite characters. Sam Shepard is so good. I guess like me watching it this time, I was paying a little bit closer attention to the older people and the parents and stuff like that. And they had a lot going on, man. Also, I forgot that Kevin Connolly was in this thing as the best friend that dies on the battlefield. Like, man, that's tragic. That's
Oh.
tragic to watch your best friend go on the battlefield, right?
Wait, I
Um,
didn't.
hmm?
I was gonna say I didn't realize that Gina like died this year. I was like, you killed her off, but she did die in 2024.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, I think she's still alive. I didn't realize she had passed. Oh man.
yeah. Unfortunately, um, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot. And Amy McAdams, like you realize in this movie that both of them are full-on movie stars. This is like when the world was like, nope, they're movie stars. Like it was just this little moment in time. So I mean, it's so hard, man, but because it's such an ensemble piece. But I gotta go favorite characters with Allie and Noah, man.
Yeah. Noah's mine. True through and true. Like like young Noah. He's always been it for me, like as far as just like, which is really funny because I'm not a huge Ryan Gosling fan. Like I have never drank the Kool-Aid to thinking that that boy is cute or anything like that. So this is truly off of how well he acted in this movie and just playing this person. Like I love his interactions with everyone, with his father, with his friends, with Allie with with the person that he's hooking up with in the future, and he can't be emotionally available to her. He was like the sweetest non-committing gaslighter I've ever seen. Like, I'm just like, oh, that was so nice. He was like, I want to give you all the things that you want, but I can't because they're all dead and broken inside. I was like, that's a nice way to put it. That was the sweetest "it's not you, it's me" I've ever seen. But no, he's always been my favorite. Like, I love Allie. She's such a spitfire. And before I got married, my last name was Hamilton, so I was just like, yeah, Hamilton.
Hey.
Hamiltons go off. But
Hamilton's go off.
and I was just like, and then we all know I love Rachel McAdams and Mean Girls, so I'm attached to the girl. But overall, just like that character, just it was so cool. He didn't give up. He built this house so she could find him. What? Like, it set the bar so high. And I'm happy for it, because if he doesn't build a house so you can find him when he knows you're engaged, don't do it,
He,
lady.
he didn't know any of that stuff. He just was committing to a promise. He's like, I promised her I was going to do it. I'm
Well,
going
he
to do
knew
it.
it. Oh, well, when he was building the house, yes. But even when he found out she was engaged not engaged, he found out she had somebody.
Mhm.
Remember, he looked in the window at the restaurant.
Right.
He still went home and finished it.
Yeah, like with the fury.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm running out of time here.
yeah, yeah.
And dude, that's the thing I like about this movie as well, is that it feels like the universe kind of conspires for everything to happen just right to put them together. And it doesn't feel forced at all. It just feels like this led to this, led to this, led to this. It feels like a real love story.
Yeah.
Like the how you would get there against all odds. And just like no matter what anybody was doing, it's like, nope, the universe is like, you guys are gonna belong together no matter what.
Yeah.
And piggybacking on just that you just said, one thing that I have to definitely highlight about this film is that it does such a tremendous job, like incredible job, at like displaying like a passage of time, like smoothly. Like they are literally growing like crazy in front of us. And it's just like it feels like everything transitions like so smoothly from like
There are no wasted scenes in this movie, I feel like. I mean, every scene is so important and integral to the story, and it tells you like something, it reveals something about their character in every scene it does. Like we completely unwrap them as people, and that's super cool. It's also super cool that they had the right actors, because they're both very good at being vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like, just like, here's my ugly cry, I don't care, and just like really going for it. Like, both of those two people, they're very exciting and dynamic to watch. I will say that I remember watching a featurette of this back in the day, and I remember the director saying that when he had read the original book or script of this movie, he said, okay, so basically Noah is an insane person, because you would have to be an insane person in order to fall in love with somebody this strongly at first sight, because that's like the thing. I guess Noah sees her and he's instantly in love with her, and he's going to chase her to the end of the earth now. And he goes, well, who's crazy enough to absolutely fall in love with someone at first sight? Like, who's the actor? And he says the first one that came to mind was Ryan Gosling. And he's like, he's just happy Ryan, that it worked out. And then, I guess they told Ryan that. He goes, oh, really? That's why he chose me? Because I feel like I'm insane. And yeah, that's it. He just felt like an insane person to him. And then Rachel McAdams, you guys, I'll send this to you on YouTube. I'll give you the link. But she gives the best audition I've ever seen in my life for this movie. Like, the best audition I've ever seen. Her audition for this is on YouTube. You should check it out. And she does it as well as she does it in the film, in the audition. I mean, she's just all there. And it's like, wow, man, like, she murdered that thing. It's one of the best auditions I've ever seen.
so watching this film, because I never gave my answer. I always said the same thing of like, oh, Noah, Noah, Noah. But really watching it now, I gotta give it to her, man. She killed it because she actually had range. Noah was, pretty stoic.
Yeah, I don't take away from her acting at all, but it's just something like he's pulled me back to saying he's my favorite character. Like, wouldn't have been anywhere without his love.
Well, they like fell in love when they made this movie because they dated for like years after they made this thing.
Did they? I did not know
They
that.
did for years. They dated for like 4 or 5 years after this movie.
Well, the director's right then, because like he did that with his current person. You just be getting into the groove of the script.
He found them both, and it made sense.
Well, they did film an actual sex scene.
Did they?
I mean, chances are they fell in love while making this movie, and I can see that. Why not?
Yeah, you just
I mean, how could you not? It's like a spell over this thing.
Yeah. I gotta put this in here. This has nothing to do with anything, but I always want to talk whenever we watch something that has James. What's his last name?
Madsen.
Or is it
Marston.
Yeah, he tipped me $1 on DoorDash. He's cheap, so good picking, Allie. Good picking.
God, I love that you call James Marston out. That's right. Hey, James, more than a buck, bucko.
Disrespectful.
Disrespectful, James. Like, we're not trying to put you out there, but dang, bro, we thought you was charming.
And I think he came to the door as though that was the consolation, right? Like,
what?
Oh, you get to meet me.
I was in the notebook, so.
He said, "Thanks so much."
Oh my God, James Marston.
But that's all. Back on. So least favorite character,
To be fair, he only ordered a DVD of the Notebook.
Oh man, but yeah. Oh, and so man, I forgot when we were talking about like the divine intervention stuff. Second favorite scene is when she is enjoying her life and she has moved on and she opens up that newspaper and she sees his house and passes out. I thought that was so cute. It always hits me. And I know it's gonna happen, but I still feel all like if there's one thing that I would give you guys to say that why she's the favorite character, it's just her acting. Like you feel everything that she's going through. You feel it. You're like, whoa. You just like, yeah. It's definitely.
Yeah, I thought that scene was terrific too. I remember after I watched it, I was like, Marina's definitely liked that scene for sure. Because it's such a girly scene, and they're doing like this thing, and her friends are trying to like they love the dress, and they're also trying to encourage her, you tell, to get her excited about her own wedding, and they're a bunch of like rich snobby girls probably, and they're making a big to do about this thing, and she's about to marry this rich guy, and so tensions are running high. It's cute, and yeah, she fainting is just like the perfect little comedic beat, and I thought the same thing. As soon as the movie, as soon as that scene ended, I was like, I keep forgetting how good of an actor she is.
Mm-hmm. For real.
So, I mean, if you guys want to talk about something particular in the movie, we jump to final thoughts.
Like I have a couple like sidebar favorite characters, but then we can switch. So Noah, then Allie Strong second. Best guy friend. I really liked his role and his impact, and he really cared about his best friend, like finding love, even if it meant like being like, no, we can't, like let's let it go, let him move on kind of thing. And then just even the way he dies with his eye open in the war, I was just like really felt for him. And my second sidebar character that had such an impact was the nurse in the nursing home who lets them hang out that night. And she's just like, can't go in there. I'm going to go get some coffee and I'm going to be gone for a while. So you better you better be good or whatever she says. And then she leaves. I really liked her. I love some like small roles that have like such a huge impact on the storyline. And she does such a good job at just really loving their relationship because you could tell like everybody else is like super annoyed with it. Like, man, like, bro, like, let her go. Like, even his kids are just like, yo, she doesn't even remember us. Like, let this go. Come hang out with us while you can. Like, you having all these heart attacks. Come hang out with us. But he loved her so much. He's willing to pay for 2 different people at the retirement home. That's a so no. So did they end up getting money later or what? Because like 2 assisted living, that's expensive.
I mean, maybe they sold that beautiful house.
No, yeah, and it's basically her inheritance covered for all those things because Noah
Um,
just worked
I
on
wonder.
other people.
I would have liked more of that. Now that you mention it, like, did the parents ever like maybe just like one small snippet of like them in between the past and the present? And maybe they didn't have enough time, but it would be good to know. Like, did her parents ever reconcile and accept it? And yeah,
It seems like the
By
mom
the
had
book.
a tougher time with it than the dad. I feel like the dad would have just played giddy up, like, all right, I think you're making a terrible decision, but it's your life. That's the kind of vibe the dad gave me. The mom was like, nope, I'm controlling every bit of this.
resentment for not having her own choice. Man, generational curses.
Man, I tell you what. I do like that you mentioned the nurse though, the attendant, and because that scene right there, first off, was acted so well, but it also says so much about like their relationship as well, because obviously she feels very comfortable with this man because she knows how much he loves his wife. He comes to see her every day, like rain, sleet, or snow, and so like they all know him very well, and that they let him, in that space like that against rules is like like we know like you are a great guy, like we know why you're even here, like they're already charmed by him as well, you know what I mean? It's really, yeah, it's a really terrific and telling scene, and he looks at the coffee and yeah, they got your back too. They're also part of the universe that's going to conspire to make sure you guys are always together. It's beautiful.
Yeah. You guys think they died naturally? I don't know why. This is the first time I questioned it.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I do have a perspective on that I never even noticed before. This movie makes reference to like reincarnation and the afterlife a couple of times, and before they die or whatever, like I never noticed that his last line before they go was see you later. Um and then even before that they were like, do you think people, what did they say, like, do you think people stay together or something like that, or do you think, or can we go together or something like that, like, do you think we could go together? And then that night they go to sleep, and they die together. It's like they had kind of planned, like, can we just like stay together and go right now?
Yeah.
And like that's beautiful. So and they talk about the afterlife and reincarnation. So I just think that was the image that was planted, and I never noticed it before. Like, and it's all in the script. It's all there. It's like, wow, like this thing is like operating on many levels, and it's such a simple story. Classic storytelling, classic directing, but it's all there. And I can't believe I still caught something from this movie 20 years after my initial viewing of it.
So when they said, if you're a bird, yeah, I'm a bird, at the end, you see the birds flying because they converted into birds.
Oh, I
Exactly.
didn't think about that too. Yeah, I don't know why. I've always questioned again, like it's so interesting, like taking maybe shoot, so John and I have been together like 9 years. So I haven't watched this movie maybe in over 10. And it's just so interesting, like 10 years like goes by and completely different things you're focusing on. Because when I was younger, it was like, oh, they died at the same time. They've got the same heartbeat. And now I'm like, we're in a medical place. He'll
We're
do
getting
anything
practical.
he says. It's, interesting. I'm very curious what went down, but either way, it's beautiful. But yeah, that's funny. It's my first time ever wondering that. I'll always just accept it that their hearts just stopped together naturally.
Yeah, man. It's all there. Yeah, it's crazy. You watch this movie, same for me. You watch it after like a decade, and like any great movie, you're gonna start noticing different stuff. You're identifying with different people who are like probably closer to your age now, and like where you are in life, and it's incredible that film and stories can do that for us.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that being said, guys, let's jump into final thoughts, shall we? Let's start with Marie.
Okie dokie. Yeah, so pretty much same feels from the beginning. Like, beautiful movie, great acting. It's also very interesting to see how far these actors have come since the movie has come out. And just like they really I feel like this was probably their reel for the next decade. Like this, they booked probably every role that they wanted to because it's just like such great acting, such a great story. I don't know if anything will like top this 100%. Like I do have like a new favorite love movie, but it's just because it identifies with more things that I like. But I think like just overall as a love story that's like fluid for everyone, this is definitely the best. And it's really cool discussing it with two guys. Cool to know that you guys cry about it like me. And I feel like everybody does. If you don't cry about this, I don't want you in my circle. Like, it's just you have no feelings because this is so vulnerable. This is so touching. And even if it's not the love story, it's the fact that we just get old is kind of sad too, you know. But I could talk about that all night. But just yeah, I recommend this to anybody who hasn't watched it because like it's that good. Like even if you're like I don't really like love movies like that, I don't give a fudge. Watch it. Like it's amazing. And yeah, those are my final thoughts.
I agree. Here, here. Okay, my final thought. I love this thing. I love it as much as the first time I've seen it. You know, the only bad thing about this movie is that I'll never have the feeling of the first time of seeing it again. You know, but this thing is terrific, man. Like, still I'm watching it and I'm crying, but like I didn't cry, but it's like I felt it wailing up, and then I forgot that I was like straight bawling the first time I've seen this movie. I was like, oh, that's right, I cried when I saw this before, like every time. Um, yeah, this thing's incredible. I would recommend this to everybody. Like, go watch this movie, man. Like, you know, as long as you're of age, I guess like I don't know what the proper age would be. At least what 16, 17, maybe you can watch. They're 17, so you can start watching this at 17. I don't know. I don't know what the rating is. I don't know how that works, but I would say I would recommend this to almost anyone, not children, but I would recommend this to anyone of adult age or later teenage age because this thing is glorious and beautiful and I love it to death. It's not going anywhere. And would I watch it again? Yeah, I will watch this thing probably 100 more times. Maybe not literally, but I will watch this with a goat in a boat. You know what I mean? Like this thing's a great movie. Um, there was one more thing I wanted to say about it, but I lost the thought, so it's gone probably. But love it.
Alrighty. Final thoughts. Well, before that, just for Jason, a pro tip. If you want to have even a similar feeling of the first time you watched it, just let some time pass by. And then whenever you're with someone that might be, I don't know, a special lady or someone that maybe, maybe hasn't seen this movie before, that's the best way. Because literally, I watched it with someone and I was like, oh, I'm back at it. I'm back at it. First feeling, like the first time. Because, like, yeah, it's like taking someone to Disney and they never been there. You go, like, oh, the excitement is there. I've been here 15 times, but, that person's never been here. So, this movie is definitely a great journey in exploring the themes of a love, exploring the themes of period pieces, exploring the themes of really amazing writing. Just like probably everybody here, I also haven't read the actual novel. I'm pretty sure it's stellar, but the fact that there's a visual representation of it and it's such a great piece, it still holds up in my opinion after all this time. It's wonderful and it's something that should be studied, especially if you're into filmmaking and making films like this type of films. It's a great piece to study the script for sure, the cinematic choices, and of course, if you are an aspiring actor or actress, definitely also a great place where you can study a little bit of really good acting as well. Um, yeah, I would definitely recommend to I would say more like the people that I feel that won't watch this movie, or at least miss it because it's not in their culture necessarily. It's like, Gen Zs and upcomings, because this is not, it's still in our culture because it was very popular when like this came out. Like I just remember everything was Nicholas Sparks and all this stuff. But like now, it's not something that is talked about widely, at least. But it is something that I wish they still made like more films this way. I feel like now these type of films kind of go straight to streaming. It's rare to see something like this these days coming into actual theaters. Uh, and yeah, and I really wish, because there was a big period of time that I just remember so many of these type of movies were coming out, and a lot of them were extremely good. So yeah, that's besides also comedy genre movies. These are other movies that I wish that they were mass produced more, uh, and at least with like in box office or like in theaters and stuff like that. I think it would be very nice. So those are my final thoughts.
And just one thing to note, this is also the proud recipient of the MTV Movie Award for Best Kiss.
Ooh.
Is that
Best Kiss of the Year.
is MTV still a thing? I thought they were like MTV 8 now. Or
Maybe,
Express.
maybe
Uh,
they were a thing in 2005 when the
oh,
award happened.
do you have numbers by any chance?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I did not check the numbers, but I will check them as we speak. So in 2005, this thing's box office receipts were very large. On a $29 million budget, this thing grossed 118 million worldwide.
Amazing.
Yeah. So this will catapult you into movie star status right away.
Nice. It's good to hear because sometimes some of this stuff it doesn't hit till it's on VHS. You know what I mean? Like it's good that people appreciate it while it was in theaters.
VHS. How old are you? Uh,
Well, at that time, I guess DVDs and Blu-rays were a thing, but
Yeah, this thing. I feel like eventually this movie will probably be played if cinemas are still a thing. I'm sure they play this somewhere in cinemas, right? People probably go back to the theaters to watch this. I think.
I feel like it has to. Like at least like a lawn one, like a you go to the watch a movie at the cemetery or something.
Yeah, got to.
so that's it for Cinema Club. Okay, Jason, you don't have any questions today,
Oh,
or
oh, thanks for asking. I actually do.
okay?
Steve, what do
Yeah.
you got for us next week?
Oh, next week. I am so glad that I asked because if not, this would have been a disaster. Uh, thank you for asking me. It is not my turn because I clearly picked this movie. So, Marina, it is your turn for Cinema Club.
Okay, it's my turn. Well, you're either gonna hate me or love me, guys. But I decided to choose something that is very unique, very powerful, very knuff. I decided to go with Brokeback Mountain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to discussing this.
Where's our video box cover?
I know. I guess it's you two.
So,
Oh.
all right, good enough. Nice save. All
Yeah.
right, Brokeback Mountain it is next week. Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger.
Whoop whoop. R.I.P.
There you go. It's a lot of hugging in this movie. So, for Marina, Jason Echoes, and me, Steve Des TV, we'll catch you next week. Bye bye.